Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about the role of diet quality in terms of body composition over the long term. I will agree with people that in the short term, macronutrients are probably the primary factor, right? And I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. How you're getting your calories in terms of carbs, fat, how much protein you eat, all enormous factors in muscle growth, fat loss, fat gain, all these things. Okay, so I want to be clear on that topic. I am not disagreeing with that. Okay, and I'm not going to make the moronic counter argument that when someone says that, someone else goes, "Oh, if you're saying it's all the same, then I could just eat pixie sticks or pure table sugar," is what you're saying. No, that no one's saying that. That's a straw man argument. All right, but all of that being said, some things that I want people to think about. We know that in terms of recovery and hormonal response, for example, because we don't have direct studies always on diet quality and body composition, it's just not been studied to a meaningful degree, but I think we can draw some parallels. So look at sleep, for example. All right, people who get adequate sleep, people who are sleeping, like 8+ hours a night, when they are in a calorie deficit, what does the research pretty consistently show? And I think no one's going to argue with this because it makes sense, right? Even the average person is going to go, "Oh, okay, it makes sense." All right. Their hormones are different, right? There's a difference in the hormonal response. So even when body weight loss is the same, people who get more sleep like that, they tend to retain muscle better, and they lose more body fat. For every pound or kilo of body weight they lose, a larger percentage of it is body fat. Okay, so hopefully people are following that. When people are sleep deprived, what happens? Because the scale's going to go down based largely upon calories in, calories out, and all that. Like we generally understand that, but other lifestyle factors, including diet, determine how much of it is water, muscle, fat, all these things. Okay, again, everyone follows this. I think we all agree. We're all on the same page, I hope. All right, but when we're sleep deprived, our body tends to burn through tissue proteins easier. When we're more fatigued like that, our cortisol is elevated. Stress hormones tend to be more elevated, right? So what happens? We lose more muscle tissue. And if we are burning through muscle tissue as fuel, what happens? We don't need to burn as much body fat, right? I mean, if you burn several thousand calories right out of your muscle tissue, that's several thousand calories you burned through in your deficit that didn't need to come from your fat. So, hey, losing muscle is a great way to hold on to fat. Just lose the muscle and your body has no need to tap into the fat for that. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay. So, we know that happens. We know it's the same thing when we sleep better. We gain muscle easier, like our training is better, our metabolic rate's better. We recover better. We get better workouts, right? So therefore, it's easier to gain muscle. We also happen to gain a pretty large chunk of our muscle growth while we're sleeping. Therefore, more sleep, maybe more potential for a little better muscle growth. We're gaining more muscle, we're gaining less fat on the same food. All right, conversely, let's come over and let's think about diet quality, nutrition, antioxidants, all these things that affect metabolic health, affect insulin sensitivity. All right, let's see where we're going here. If your diet and literally the type of fat you eat affects this, the quality of your carbohydrates affects this. If your insulin sensitivity is higher because of diet quality, do we gain muscle easier? We do. Insulin sensitivity is absolutely a factor in muscle growth. Right? Poor insulin sensitivity tends to promote fat gain easier. High insulin sensitivity tends to promote nutrient partitioning towards our muscle tissue. Again, this is understood. All right, so does your diet quality affect that? Yeah. Does the ratios of things like polyunsaturated versus saturated fat in terms of your fat calories impact insulin sensitivity? The research is pretty overwhelming showing that it does. Polyunsaturated fats tend to improve insulin sensitivity. Saturated fats tend to reduce it. Am I saying this is always occurring? But no, this is the general trend. Okay? All right? Carbohydrates that have a little more fiber in them. Notice I did not mention glycemic index. It's actually not a factor. No one cares about glycemic index anymore, by the way. We don't even care about simple versus complex, but we do care about fiber. It's a big deal. Sorry, the amount of fiber in your carbs affects insulin sensitivity positively. You see where we're going? The quality of your diet matters for muscle. And if on the same amount of food we are gaining more muscle, let's come back over to this energy balance equation. Right? On the same calorie intake, if you are supplying more calories towards muscle building, you are supplying less calories towards fat building. Better body composition. Could the same be said when we're in a deficit? Sure. All right, how about antioxidants, vitamins, all these things, all this stuff that helps with inflammation, all this other stuff. If we are recovering easier and we feel better because we're on a higher quality diet, what happens? Well, we can train harder. Well, if we can train harder and then we recover slightly better, is it easier to gain more muscle and less fat? Yes. All right, conversely, when we're in a deficit, if we can train harder and recover better so that we, again, burn through more calories and we're supplying a larger anabolic process in our muscle tissue, because it can recover from more training, it trained more, so we stimulate it more, trains more. Where does that extra energy then come from? It comes from your fat cells. So when we start thinking about the long term, nutrition quality is important towards body composition. Not in the short term. The immediate, it's not as big of a deal. But when we start thinking over long periods of time, the quality of your diet, just like sleep quality, stress management, all of this stuff impacts muscle versus fat gain and loss. Okay? They're actually relatively important in the grand scheme of things. Now, that's purely if we want to look better. Now, the other obvious side, you'll obviously live longer and feel better. But, people who work out, when you get people to join a gym, they don't care about that. They only care about looking sexy. The fact that all this stuff will help you live longer, feel better, reduce your cancer, heart attack, all that is really of secondary importance to people. Because really, they just care about how they look at the end of the day. I'm just speaking facts. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.